What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm here today with the review for Power Season 5, Episode 7, The Devil is Inside. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so we have Tasha on the elevator going to see Silver, and you have James and Angela on the elevator. And, James is on the elevator talking to Angela, basically just saying to Angela that he's not quite sure that Tasha has Silver on lock like she thinks she does. And I'm like, nigga, you just butthurt. That's all it is. Like, you upset that she blurted out that, Silver loves her, much more than you ever did. And, Angela's trying to sit over there and, trying to reason with him, talking about, well, I hope for our sake that Tasha does have Silver on lock, because she's saying that, when you're in love with somebody, you do some crazy, stupid shit for them, which, I mean, look at you. You've done a whole lot of crazy and stupid shit for James, but that's not my business, and I'm gonna let that one go. But I agree with what Angela's saying. You do some crazy things for love, but I'm also on James' side. I'm not quite sure that Tasha has Silver on lock like she thinks. Okay, so then we have Tasha. She's talking to Terry, and she's still trying to get Terry to lie for her. And Terry feels like Tasha is still trying to protect James, and he said that he feels like she's still in love with him, and that they need to go to the police station. And when he says that they need to go to the police station to turn him in, that's when she, finally says, it was Tariq that shot Ray Ray and not James or me. And then, Silver's like, but you told me that you shot him. And she was like, yeah, I know I told you that, but I'm trying to protect my son. And Silver's like, well, the best thing that you can do to protect him would be for Tariq to turn himself in. And Tasha's like, I can't do that because, I don't want the system and I don't want the police department to eat my son alive. He's a young black man. And I absolutely 100% get where Tasha's coming from. She don't want, he's not a bad kid. It's just he's doing some stupid shit. And I see where Tasha's coming from with this. Like, you don't want to put him in a system when he doesn't need to be. He was, he fell with the wrong crowd, and let him live his life. He's, like I said, he's a kid, and he's gonna make mistakes. So I agree with her not wanting to take, all this information to the police, because the police can end up flipping this shit and making it look so bad on so many levels. All right, and then you have James and Angela. They're at her apartment, and James is asking her, did she know anything about Terry and Tasha? And she was like, well, I knew that he was her lawyer, but as far as them having a relationship, it's not like Tasha and I are best friends or anything like that. And I'm like, really, you think Tasha gonna sit here and tell Angela, the woman who took her husband from her, that she's with Terry? Like, what the fuck, ghost? But whatever. And for me, it's just like, nigga, you and your whole feelings because Tasha got a dude and you can't take that. And Angela's like, I know it's a surprise to you, but is this because you care about Tasha, or is it because of the case? And he's like, no, it's not because of Tasha, it's because of Tariq and all that kind of stuff. And Angela's talking about how she's scared because she thought she had everything covered and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, James is thanking her for everything that she did. She's like, well, I did it for myself. Well, I did it for Tariq and Raina and you, of course. Which, girl, just say you did it for him. Like, we all know you did it for him. And he's like, he's out of the game and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, well, the cleaner you get, the dirtier I get. And they're gonna come after her with full force. And they start to get heated and start having sessions. She's talking about I need to step away from you. He's like, no, we need to sit together. And then on the other side, you got Tasha and Terry fucking. I'm like, damn, it's a lot of sex in this episode. It's just a lot of sex going on, like shit. Okay, so over at Angela's office, you got Mock. Mock, Sax, and Donovan and Tamika. They're all together, and Mock is talking about how he wants to get Ghost for Ray Ray's murder, and Donovan is like, we don't have any proof and all that kind of stuff. And they're talking. Tamika's telling them how Blanca is back in New York with the grand jury, trying to get a grand jury together so that they can subpoena Terry to corroborate Tasha's story. And Mock is just like, all this stuff is convenient that that the gun was stolen after it was used to kill Ray Ray and all that kind of stuff. And Donovan, he agrees with her, but they just don't have any hard concrete proof. And Sax over there, he's talking about how just like with this whole drug ring, this whole drug stuff, they don't have concrete proof that James is involved with that. And he was talking about how he wants to include Angela with this case. And Donovan's like, you want to include her? He was like, yeah, because Sax has a complete hard-on for Angela. He feels like, she is deeper into this than she's saying. and that, you know, he feels like James owns her. And, you know, Tamika is telling Donovan that, you know, they have concrete evidence on Angela for the obstruction of justice because, you know, she deleted the gun out of evidence. So she wants Donovan to stick closer to Tasha. I mean, not Tasha, but Angela, because of that, and just see how deep her involvement is. And also, she wants Mock and Saxe to put the squeeze on Teresi because, as of now, Teresi hasn't really given them anything that they can work with. So they just want to get some more information out of Teresi so that they can, you know, finally take down James and
All right.
Tom. Then you have Mock and Saxe. They go to Teresi's house. They knock on the door. Teresi opens the door, and there those two fools are. And he's upset, you know, like, with y'all two coming in my neighborhood, like, they can get me caught up. They come in, they speak to Connie. Connie tells them, fuck you. And, you know, they basically asked Teresi, has Tommy ever mentioned anything about Angela? And he was like, no, why? And they're like, well, they believe that she is covering up a murder. So they want Teresi to try to get some information out of Tommy about this murder and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, once they leave, you know, Connie is talking to Teresi, basically saying that, you know, once she's gone, she wants him to have family around. And, you know, with him doing this, what he's doing to Tommy, she says she knows that Tommy is his son. And when she's gone, and if Tommy's in prison, he'll be out by himself, and she doesn't want that. And, you know, basically, she wants him to, basically, in a nutshell, Connie wants Teresi to stop what he's doing and not turn Tommy in because, like I said, once Connie's gone, he ain't gonna have no family. It's just gonna be him and his son to be locked up because of some bullshit that he's been doing. So I agree with Connie. Like, stop. I mean, Teresi is a bitch, to be quite honest with you. Like, I just, like, that's your son and you willing to turn him in for what? Okay, so we have Angela in her office and Donovan comes in. And, you know, she's asking Donovan, has he heard anything else from Blanca? And, you know, he tells her that I can't tell you anything like that. And, you know, Angela wants to throw up when Sandoval was trying to frame him for murder. She had his back and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, he was like, basically, she has no friends in that office. And then she's like, well, what about you? Are you my friend? He said, I'm going to be your best friend right now and tell you, basically, stay the fuck away from James. Because when you are when you're around him, when you're with him and all that kind of stuff, your judgment is non-existent. It's not there. Like, you forget, you throw your judgment completely out the window because of this man. So him being, you know, that's him giving her, you know, her some advice. And he left it at that and he walked out the door. And I'm like, you know, he is telling the truth. Like, when James is involved, Angela's judgment is completely non-existent. Like, she forgets everything that she works for. I'm like, okay, whatever. All right, then you get James is on the phone. He's talking to Dre, and, you know, they're trying to get together with the business plan for, you know, Dre taking out Jason and Ghost taking out Diego. And, you know, Dre, he agrees to everything. And, you know, he tells Ghost that, you know, when it comes down to Diego, you know, nobody needs to know about that and all that kind of stuff. It needs to stay between them, and they agree on that. So now you have Tommy, Ghost, and Kanan. They're meeting with Jason. Tommy gives Jason his $2 million of clean money. And, you know, he's basically telling him about the Jimenez, how they were locked up, but the feds let them go. And Jason is like, well, why would the feds let them go? And Jason feels like the Jimenez may have given up his organization. So he wants to move up the timeline for getting rid of the Jimenez, and he wants to move up the timeline for getting the ports. So Tommy's like, cool. So when they leave, Ghost is asking Tommy, like, why come you didn't tell me anything about the Jimenez? And he's like, you know, well, Jason's my boss, and this is my organization, so I do shit the way I want to do shit. And, you know, he's like, I got something to do. So he leaves. And then, you know, it leaves Ghost and Kanan together. And Ghost is talking about how he's going to get the location on Diego Jimenez, and how he really can't take out Diego because Diego knows who he is. So he's basically asking Kanan to take out Diego for him. And, you know, Kanan agrees to take out Diego for him. And then you got Proctor. He was actually looking for Mock, but he runs into Sack. And Sack is like, you know, I can get your license back. And, you know, Proctor's like, well, I'm not turning over my client. He's like, I don't want to turn over your client. I want information on Angela. He's like, what about Angela? He's like, do you know if she's covered up a murder? And Proctor was like, no, I don't know anything about that. And he was like, well, if you did know information about Angela, would you be protecting her? He said, no, I wouldn't protect him. So Sack is like, well, if you give me the information, I'll make a call and get you your license back. And not Cooper, but Proctor is like, nah, make the call first and then I'll get the information. So he does make a phone call to somebody so that he can get Proctor his license back. All right, and then you have this scene where Tasha, she's talking to James, and James being his hypocritical self, telling Tasha that she dipped out on him when he was on trial and all that kind of stuff. And Tasha was like, first of all, everything with Terry happened after your trial and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, really? But you sitting here trying to grill her, but ain't you the same one that was messing with Angela throughout your marriage? But whatever, you want to blame Tasha for this. So like, really? And he's basically telling Tasha that he does not believe that Terry is built for all this kind of stuff, to lie and all that kind of stuff. And he's also telling her how he believes that he said that Angela's scared, and he feels like Angela might do something to try to protect herself. And Tasha like, well, I bet you got that on lock already. And so Tasha leaves, and in walks Tate, and Ghost is talking to Tate, talking about why come he didn't tell him that he was running for governor and all that kind of stuff. And actually Tate wanted to know, well, how did he know and all that kind of stuff. And he's telling him how his temper is an issue and all that kind of stuff, and it's not good for the project. And basically he's telling James that he's no longer on the project and all that kind of stuff. And James is talking about how he's just been working hard and all that kind of stuff to turn corners and all that kind of stuff, and now here he is doing this shit to him. And he says after Tate says after his announcement for governor, he'll pay Ghost all his money back in full. So next you have Angela. She is meeting with Steve, and she's telling Steve that he basically owes her, after that whole debacle with the Jimenez and all that kind of stuff. And she's saying that she wants a job. And he's saying he may know of one in DC, and if she goes to DC, that'll be a fresh start for her and all that kind of stuff. And she gets a text from Tommy telling her to meet him at her place. So she leaves lunch with Steve. She goes home. Tommy's already in her apartment, sitting on her couch eating some of her chips and all that kind of stuff. And Tommy's cuts right to the chase. He wants to know why the Jimenez were cut. And Angela's, sending her questioning him about, why does he want to take the Jimenez out and all that kind of stuff, if that's his connect. And then she finally puts it together that they are not his connect, in actuality that he's actually working for the competitor. And Tommy gets a text from Teresi basically telling him that he wants to meet up with him, that he wants to introduce him to someone that he knows. I'm like, Tommy, here we go with this shit. All right, then you got Tommy, Teresi, and Sammy. They all together, and they're going to meet Teresi's MCC contact that has the money for Tommy. And Teresi is asking him, well, since Ghost is not gonna clean your money no more, what are you gonna do? He was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, how did you guys clean your money before? And he told him about the the laundry business they had. I'm like, Tommy, like, why the fuck are you telling him so much shit? Like, is this not raising a red flag in your head? Like, really? So they get to his connects, the dude's house that they were meeting up with. And the dude himself even said to Teresi that he was like, I'm surprised they let you out. And I'm like, Tommy, you don't see this shit? Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be serious, though. Why would the feds let Teresi out? So, he takes him into the garage. He gives them the money. And Teresi's holding the briefcase. And the briefcase sounded a little light. So Teresi opens the briefcase. And in the briefcase, there is some money. But behind the money, you can see where he added some little weights to make it a little bit more heavier. And he was like, oh man, I was a little bit light on the money, this week. I was gonna pay you double next week. So, Teresi tells Tommy to knock him out and all that kind of stuff. So they knock him out and they tie him up. And then, oh God, this scene just really made my skin crawl so badly. So they tie him up and Teresi has a drill and he drills right into his leg. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, I know that had to hurt. Like my skin was just like crawling at that point. And then, Teresi drills a hole in his head and basically kills him. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, this has got to be a setup for Teresi to try to figure out more information about Tommy and Ghost's, who they've killed and all that kind of stuff. All right, and then you got Tariq. He's at Choke. He's in his room. He's listening to the voicemail that Ghost left for him. Now, he was about to text Ghost and tell him that he got his message, but then he completely deletes it and says, nah, I'm not going to text him. And then he goes and get that other phone that he has that he's been calling Kanan on. And he picks it up and he gives Kanan a call. And I, for the life of me, forgot to write down what he said to Kanan. but I'm pretty sure it was about the drugs that he's doing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, come on, little nigga, like, be smart. Like, Kanan is playing you at this point. And then you got Tommy, Teresi, and Sammy. Basically, Tommy and Teresi are bonding over this whole murder thing. And Teresi's asking Tommy what's the worst shit he's ever done. And here we go Tommy once again telling Teresi all his fucking business. I'm like, Tommy, like, why are you doing this shit, man? Like, do you want a daddy that badly that you come sit here and tell this man everything that you do? And then you got then you have Teresi talking about the MCC agent that Ghost killed, and he was like, how did they know about him? Sandoval and all that kind of Sandoval and all that kind of stuff. And he's basically telling Teresi about Proctor, having connections and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, Tommy, why the fuck are you telling him so much shit? Like, keep some shit to yourself. I believe Proctor even told you that. Keep some shit to yourself. And then, Teresi is telling Tommy how Connie wants him to come over for dinner. And you got Sammy in the back seat talking about, Connie cook a mean meal. And then Teresi told Sammy, nah, you can stay at home. It's between me, Connie, and Tommy. I'm like, ooh, shit. He feeling a little molded at this point. And then you have dinner over there at Teresi's house. Teresi is telling Connie that, Tommy needs a legit business and, she can always come up with some good ideas and all that kind of stuff. And she comes up with the idea of a private ambulance. The cops wouldn't think anything about it. You can go up and down the street at 2 a.m. and the cops wouldn't think nothing about it, which is a good idea. And, they go to the table, they start eating and all that kind of stuff. And they asking Tommy, if he has a girlfriend. He says he's talking about, what was that girl's name? Shit, I forgot her name. What was that bitch name? I forgot her name. But he's talking about her, and he's talking about how she don't live there no more. The bitch ain't living, period. And then he kind of mentions Keisha, and how they off and on again right now. And Connie's like, well, just bring her over, for dinner one night. And then you hear a knock at the door, and it's Kate out there screaming at Tommy for her to, to come let her in and all that kind of stuff. So Tommy goes to the door. He opens the door for Kate. Kate comes in, and he's like, Ma, how the fuck you know where I was at? And she was like, I drove up and down the street thinking he would leave that bitch. And, Connie says, fuck you. And Kate says, fuck you. And, and then Kate was like, well, this is, do you know this is Tony's bastard son? She said, yeah, I know that. And she was like, and then Tommy's telling Kate to leave. And Connie was like, yeah, my son said leave. But I'm thinking to myself, like, bitch, your son. I'm like, okay, Kate. I mean, Connie, you a little bold right now because you sick, but whatever. I'm gonna let that slide. No, I'm really not gonna let that slide. Like, bitch, you just sick. I can't imagine Kate wanting to fight a sick woman, but maybe she would. And then you got Ghost. He meets up with Silver and basically telling him he found a matching earring in Tasha's jewelry box. And Silver telling him, hey, all this stuff with Tasha, it happened after your trial. And, once again, James is telling him how he does not feel that he's cut out for this stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then he mentions the ethics committee, how would they feel if they knew that you slept with my wife and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, really, Ghost, you don't give a fuck that badly. Maybe you do. Maybe you just in your feelings that badly that you can't let Tasha be happy. And, Terry is still on the thing about, he thinks that James killed Ray Ray, and James is like, I didn't kill him. But he was like, well, Tasha told me that Tariq killed him, but she's also told me that she killed him, so he just don't know what to believe right now. And James is basically telling him corroborate Tasha's story or else, and he was like, or else what? Basically, if he don't corroborate her story, he will go to the ethics committee on him. I'm like, you bitch. And then you got Tom. He's going over to Keisha's house, and when Keisha let him in, he's telling Keisha how he had dinner with his dad and his stepmother and all that kind of stuff, and how he told him about her and how they, want to meet her. And Keisha is like, first of all, Tommy, if we gonna do anything with each other again, I have to know that you are serious about me. And he's like, I am serious about you and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I think it's cute, Tasha. I mean, not Tasha, but Keisha and Tommy. But I'm just like, Tommy, like, I get Connie wants to have a relationship with him, but like, come on, like, I don't see how Tommy don't see these red flags with Teresi. Like, I'm just confused by how he does not see this shit. Okay, and then you have Dre. He's making his first payment to Diego. And he's telling Diego that he found out that it was not Ghost and Tommy, who gave him up to the feds, that it was, and then, you know, Two-Bit chimed in and said, yeah, it was as bitch ass nigga Arturo. And, you know, Dre's like, yeah, but I took care of that, so you ain't got nothing to worry about with that. And, you know, he's basically telling him, and actually Two-Bit is in the corner looking like, what the fuck? And, you know, Dre says since they are making money with each other, you know, he wants to throw a party for them and all that kind of stuff. Talking about how he gonna have all kind of hoes there. And, you know, Diego's like, well, he want to have BBWs there for his men on the side of him. And he's like, okay, I got you. So, you know, the party, he tells him when the party is and what time the party is at. It's at 11 o'clock. So I guess, you know, this is where he's going to set up the hit for Diego's death. And then the next morning, you got Tommy supposedly making breakfast for Keisha, which is nothing, which it consists of a bowl of fucking cereal and some milk. But, you know, Keisha sits down, eat her cereal, and, you know, she's sitting there with Tommy, and she's basically like, what does all this mean? Like, I just want to know what this means. And Tommy's like, you know, I'm down for you just like you down for me, so that's what this means. And I'm like, huh? And then she was like, okay, whatever. I mean, I get it. Actually, I really kind of don't get it, but we'll see how this go further. Okay, and then you have Dre. He's telling his plan. Well, actually, backtrack. Dre is on the phone with Ghost, and, you know, Dre is giving him the information on Diego, and Ghost is giving him Dre the information on Jason, vice versa. So once Dre hangs up the phone with Ghost, he's telling Two-Bit his plan. Basically, his plan is he wants Ghost to take out Diego, but he wants Two-Bit and Spanky to be there to take out Ghost. And, you know, Two-Bit is like, well, why can't you take that nigga out? And, you know, Dre is like, well, I can't blend two places at once, so I need y'all to do it. And I'm like, really? You want those two niggas to do it? The same two niggas who killed that Toros Lobo on the street. Okay, Dre, whatever. I mean, really, they fucked up your plan once before, so why do you trust them now? But whatever. And, you know, Two-Bit is like, well, you know, if we take out Diego, there goes our connect. And he's like, nah, we got Alicia. But, you know, Two-Bit is like, that's risky as fuck, man, to put all your trust in Alicia, which I actually 100% agree with him. And Dre's whole thing is, by him taking out Jason and all of them, he wants to take over Tommy's territory. And I'm like, okay, you still not making, like, you still trusting these two fools right here that fucked up your plan before. But okay, Dre, if you want to trust them, go ahead and do that, but it's gonna backfire on you. All right, so you also got Tasha and Keisha, they're out for dinner. Tasha, you know, Keisha's asking Tasha how she's doing with the Raina stuff, and Tasha's basically telling her how it's hard and all that kind of stuff, but she kind of has to put herself together, and, you know, she has to focus on the good things that she has and how her life is basically about to change and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Keisha is, you know, just sunshines and rainbows about her being with Tommy and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Tasha's like, but I thought you said you weren't gonna get back with him under any circumstances. And Keisha's telling her about how, you know, his dad and his stepmom want to meet her. And she was like, wait a minute, I thought his dad was dead. Where's he been all this time? Like, do you know who he is and all that kind of stuff? And Keisha's like, nah, I don't know nothing about that. And, you know, so while they sitting there talking, Tasha gets a text from Terry telling her to meet him and all that kind of stuff. She thinks she's about to get some dick, but I'm like, it's just something real weird about this whole situation. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. And then you got Two-Bit. He meeting up with Kanan. He's asking Kanan, you know, why is Dre cutting a deal with Ghost to kill Diego? All right, then you have James. He's meeting up with Alphonse, and he's asking him, you know, basically, is their deal still on? And he's trying to see if the Queen's Child project is on lock. He tells him, yeah, that it's all good. And, you know, James is basically like, you know, well, whatever Tate paying you, I'll double that shit. And he's like, you know, well, he said, you'll skim too? And Ghost is like, skim? And he's like, yeah, he's skimming money off the Queen's Child project to pay me. And I'm like, oh, so we finally got some dirt on Rashad Tate. I'm like, I knew it was something about Tate that was off. Okay, and then you got Proctor. He's with Tommy, and, you know, he's telling Tommy that he got his license back. Tommy hands him some money and tells him that he killed a guy. And he's asking Tommy if he knows anything about Angela covering up her murder and all that kind of stuff, because of course he can't go to James because James is not gonna give him any information. And Tommy wants to know how he knew about the MCC and all that kind of stuff, and Sandoval being there. And he says Terry told him, and Tommy is like, well, how did he know? And Proctor says Angela. And then they sitting there wondering if she set them up for all this stuff, to for this murder, and if this is the murder that she's in fact trying to cover up. I'm like, oh my God, y'all, please don't do nothing stupid with this. Teresi is with Dumb and Dumber, and he's telling them how he wants immunity if he tells them about the murder at about the guard at the MCC. So they grant him immunity, and he basically tells them how Ghost killed that guard by crushing his skull and all that kind of stuff, and then he strangled the other inmate to make it look like it was a suicide and all that kind of stuff. And they asked him, did he see it? And he says no. But then they were like, well, if we need you to testify, will you testify? And he says, yes, he will testify. And then you got Kanan, he's with Tariq, and Tariq is telling Kanan about the voicemail that Ghost left for him. And, Kanan is saying that the best way to, get at your enemies is to make them feel like they actually won. And, basically a sneak attack. And he's saying if they move weight at Choke, that Tariq will have his own money and he will finally be able to be off him up under his daddy and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, Tariq, be smart about this shit. Like, think logically, little nigga. But he's not gonna think logically. He's gonna do just what his daddy does. Think about himself. All right, and then you got Angela. She's in her car and Tommy is in the back seat. Angela told him not to break into her apartment again, so he breaks into her car this time. And Tommy wants to know how many people knew about Mike Sandoval, because he feels like Angela wanted him dead, and that her telling Terry was a way to set them up. And she was like, that her office is out to get her. He was like, is it behind Sandoval? And she's like, no. And she basically was talking about how she wants her problem eliminated. And he was like, well, what's the name? And she just said John, and that's it. He's like, I need a last name. She said, no, I think I'm gonna do it my way. I need to get the Jimenez taken care of, and if she can get the Jimenez taken care of, they can clear her name. I'm like, I don't really see how this gonna clear your name, but if you still got Tariq and Kanan together. They at a bar this time. They eating and all that kind of stuff. Kanan is sitting there telling Tariq about how prison changed him and all that kind of stuff. How people talk about they would come see him, they would write him, but they never would. And Tariq was like, well, if you ever go back to jail, I'll write you and I'll come see you. And I'm like, kind of like, well, I'm not ever going back there again. And then he gets a text from Ghost about, the location for where Diego's gonna be. So, Kanan leaves to go take care of that business. And then you got Angela. She's in her office. Mock come in there and she's telling him about the lead counsel position that's in DC. And Mock is like, well, are you going? She's like, no, you're going, and you're going with my letter, my recommendation of approval. And he wants to know basically why she's doing this for him. She was like, because I need a friend in here, and well, she needs a friend in his office, and so does he. And he asked her what she wants to know. So I guess I don't know if he's gonna help her or not. I really feel like he's gonna use this even further to dig a deeper grave for Angela. And I don't know how she doesn't see this, but we're gonna see how this play out. Tasha, like I said earlier, she got that text from Terry to come to his apartment. So she gets there to the apartment. That apartment is completely empty. Terry has left the building, and everything is gone except for that subpoena that he got and the check that Tasha wrote for him with a sticky note on there that just says, I'm sorry. And I'm like, damn, Tasha, like, I really wanted Tasha to win and be happy, but I knew it wouldn't last that long, especially with Terry. And now you got Ghost. He is meeting with Rashad Tate. When Tate comes in, he plays that recording of Alphonse telling him how he's skimming the money and all that kind of stuff. So once he finished playing that recording, he's like, you know what, you're gonna go win that governor seat, and once you do, you're gonna push the Queen Child Project up and make it a priority and all that kind of stuff. And Tate's like, well, I'll be in contact with you after I announce my his candidacy. And like, I know you will. And then he texts Angela telling them that they should have dinner tonight to celebrate something. And I'm like, there go the old Ghost. He's back. Okay, so Diego shows up for the party. That bitch was empty as fuck. Like, he didn't realize that might have been a setup, that it was empty as fuck. Nobody's there. And there's a sign leading to where the pussy is. Like, you didn't take okay, whatever. So you got 2-Bit and Spanky outside. And 2-Bit is basically telling Spanky how, hey man, plan has changed. That Ghost is not taking out Diego. Kanan is taking out Diego. And he was like, wait, I wasn't prepared to take out Kanan. And, you know, he was like, nah, we're not gonna take out Kanan. We're gonna tell Dre, hey, Ghost didn't show up, Kanan did. And we didn't kill Kanan because you never told us to kill him. You wanted us to kill Ghost. He was like, you remember what happened the last time when we went rogue and did our own thing? He was like, yeah, he flipped the fuck out. So, you know, Diego's in the party, him and his dude, and Kanan comes in there, shoot him up, and they both dead. Okay, so Kanan, he goes to meet up with Jason without Ghost and Tommy. And when he walks in there, he has a bag in his hand. He opens the bag, and there's Diego's head. So he chopped off Diego's head. And, you know, he's basically telling Jason that, you know, the Jimenez found out what he was up to, and he got the drop on them first and killed them. So, you know, Jason is happy about that, but he also is leery. He's like, well, what do you want? And Kanan is telling him that I want to take Thomas Spider in the organization. And, you know, Jason is basically wanting Kanan to prove it to him and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, what about Ghost and Tommy? And, you know, Kanan's like, well, Ghost and Tommy will be too busy fighting with each other and all that kind of stuff, and they won't see it and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, he tells them that they need to leave there because the person that's coming from the Jimenez to do the hit on him is on his way. And Jason's like, nah, let's stay. I want to take him out. And Kanan was like, nah, we don't need to take him out and all that kind of stuff, you know. So they leave. And once they leave, Dre pulls up and he goes into the room, and the room is completely empty. No one's there but the housekeeper. So Dre got this. And then lastly, you guys, we got James and Angela. They are having dinner. So there's a knock at the door, and James gets a text from Kanan saying it's done. So once Angela goes to the door. She opens the door, it's Tasha. Tasha storms in, going off on Ghost, asking him, what did he do to Terry? And basically said he gave him an incentive. And Angela's like, well, what kind of incentive did you give him? And, you know, and Tasha's telling him how she found a subpoena. His apartment is completely clean, and she called his office, and his office said that he's on a leave of absence. And, you know, Angela's like, this doesn't look good for us and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Tasha was like, she has another plan, and she pulls out the gun. And Angela like, you still got the gun? She said, yeah, I kept it for insurance purposes. And she's like, I'm gonna turn myself in. And then, you know, Ghost is telling her, nah, you're not gonna turn yourself in. If anybody is, it's gonna be me. And that was the episode. So tell me how you guys feel. Leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later for Real Housewives of Potomac. And I also will be reviewing Insecure. I'm trying to get caught up on Insecure right now, but once I get caught up on it, I will be reviewing it.